family. This is my first time on YouTube Live. Thank you all for subscribing because I'm able to do the things. So make sure you push the like button. Make sure you push the notification button so that you know when I go live. I'm going to be doing this every day. I haven't set a time yet. I just recorded a video. You'll see it come up later. But I have a very special episode of the Black Women Amplified podcast coming on Thursday. So make sure you subscribe to your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. If you're new here, you haven't been here before, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We talk about all things Black girl, all things about being magic, empowerment, life, favorite TV shows, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, the insider scoop of a Black girl living her life, building her dreams. And today we're going to talk about trauma. Oh my goodness. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while because, like many of you, I've had, like many people, I should say, I don't know about you, but many people, we've had traumatic experiences in our lives. And those traumatic experiences color our life. We don't realize that they shift and change how we feel about ourselves, how we see the world, how we trust people, how we trust the world. So it becomes, it's like paint on the wall, like we're the wall and it becomes the paint. And depending on the trauma, it really determines the color and the depth of the paint that is on the wall. And we spend our whole lives trying to scrape that paint off so that we can get to who we really are. And I was in a conversation yesterday with Dr. Venus, and she is a coach and a mentor. And she went from the streets to being a multimillionaire. And so she teaches women, predominantly Black women, but some men and different people, but predominantly her work is for Black women, and that's what her PhD is in from Stanford. And so she knows us very well. So in this conversation, we were talking about, she was talking about, we were talking about how money and trauma are connected, right? And I just never looked at it from this perspective, so I really wanted to come over here and share. But everything that our life that we see, and I know this to be true intellectually, but yesterday I got it in my heart. Everything in our life that we see in our life, or how our perspective on how we handle life, comes through the filter of our trauma. So if we had a traumatic childhood, if we were in a bad relationship, if we have low self-esteem, if we don't feel good about ourselves, if we have negative self-talk, it is a filter that goes over how we see life and how we respond to life. You know how sometimes you have that pop-off moment and you just don't know where it came from? And people will say, well, I'm triggered. Well, behind that trigger is trauma. So if somebody says something to you or something happens, a situation goes down and you don't like it, then it's triggered. But what's triggered is that trauma that's in you. So she talked about how the decisions we make in life impact and affect us. Not the decisions we make in life, but the things that have happened to us are still affecting us today. And the way that I discuss it with my clients is that a program is placed inside of us, and the program is still running, and we don't know that we're conscious of it running, right? That it is in us, just like a computer. Sometimes you can download something from 5 years ago, and you completely forget it's on your computer, and then you're like, why is my computer running so slow? Or why is it glitching? Or why is it, going on and off? What's going on? And if you dig deep enough, you'll find that there is some program that you put on 5 years ago that you forgot was there, that it's still running. Or you're running out of memory. You're like, why am I running out of memory? I don't have anything on here. But you have put programs on 5, 6, 10 years prior, if your computer's around that long, that are still running on your computer every time you turn it on. So you have to go inside of that computer and you have to delete those programs so that the rest of the computer runs efficiently. And that's how trauma works. Trauma is a program that is put in us. Sometimes it's generational, sometimes it's epigenetics. So sometimes it comes from our parents, our grandparents, our ancestor, our lineage. But then there are things that happen to us once we're born. And so in that instance, as she talked about, as I'm talking about, is trauma colors our life. And we don't understand how much it colors our life until we're triggered or something happens. But then when I was talking to her yesterday, she talked about how this trauma essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, makes our decisions for us. And so when we have these decisions that we're making, these choices that we're making in life, and we're doing it through the lens of trauma, it might take us way off our path, right? Take us way off the direction that we were purposed and we were born to be in. So it's really interesting. And I'll talk about it more probably on the podcast, but no, I'll talk about it here. It's really interesting how trauma colors our lives. And you know how you'll have a situation where you might not feel safe, you might not feel seen, you might not feel appreciated. Typically, those feelings, and people might call it imposter syndrome or might call it low self-esteem, low self-worth, but all of those emotions are developed because of traumatic experiences that we have and how we respond to those experiences and how it changes the way that we see ourselves. And so in that instance, and she went through my life, she was talking about her life as a young lady, and it brought up a memory that I had completely forgotten. Completely forgotten. I'm sorry, I'm getting hair in my mouth. I don't have much hair, so why is it? So anyway, an incident that I completely forgotten that happened to me when I was a kid. And this was a time when my parents were going through a really bad divorce. And I'd already been through abuse and trauma and all these other things that happened to me. And I had stopped talking except to people that I knew. And my mother didn't really trust us around other people except family, like close family. So I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of interactions with people. My dad, on the other hand, was like, here, go, watch my kids. And I would be over at anybody's house. But my mom was very protective. But my mom was also, she had her moments when she was going through her trauma that she took it out on me. And I remember this one, I completely forgot about it until I was talking to Dr. Venus yesterday. And the recollection of it was just devastating for me. I was crying. I couldn't get my words out, but it was so healing to get it out. I was, so anyway, here's the thing. My parents got a divorce. It was a horrible divorce. Just the whole process of the divorce was horrible. Went through a custody battle, went through all of these different things. And so it was very traumatic for me. And I'm already introverted, so I became very, very quiet. But in this instance, we had moved out of the place where I grew up, and we had moved back into the house. Romantic gestures, right? My dad built a house for my mom. They used to be owned by my grandmother. That's a whole nother story. But in this instance, we were in the house, and I heard my mother talking on the phone. I didn't know who she was talking to. So I picked up the phone. I thought she said my dad's name. So I picked up the phone and I just started listening. And when I started listening, my mother was trashing me. I mean, you would have thought that I stole the Eiffel Tower out of her pocket and she found out about it. The way she talked about me, and I had to be probably about 9 years old, maybe 8, maybe 9 years old. And she talked about me so bad that it literally broke. I think my heart shattered and my self-worth went away. My self-esteem went away. And that instance, I became a different person. In that moment, I became a different person because when you hear your mother say these things, somebody I admired and worshiped and loved, still love my mama, but at that time, I didn't know how troubled she was. And I didn't know how, I didn't know her trauma. I didn't know where she came from until I talked to my aunts later and they talked to me about their childhood. My mom told me a little bit, but my aunts told me later on after my mother had passed away, the life that they grew up in. I didn't know that. I just knew I was a kid and my mama was talking about me like I was some stranger on the street, some hoe on the street, honey. And I'm a kid and I didn't know what was going on. And it has, I realize now that it locked in me. And the reason I realized that is because when she was taking me through a process, I could literally feel that devastation and trauma and shame and hurt and anger and rage that I had locked inside of me. I could feel it leave. I could feel it leave. And when it was done, I felt this like cool air around me and I felt lighter. And I just felt a sense of joy and peace come over me. And it was astounding. And I told Dr. Venus, you are one of the greatest healers in the world because she understands black women, plus she has been through her own traumas. And so even when I'm dealing with stuff and all my own stuff, there's very few people that can understand when you have compounded trauma, when you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, and when you have all these other things going on that can unlock something that traumatic that I had completely forgot about. And in that instance, I was able to see how my life shifted because I no longer felt safe, right? So if your mother, who's supposed to be your protector, is not protecting you, then where do you feel safe? So this is how trauma colored my life. Every decision I've made in my life up until this moment, this point, was to make sure that I felt safe. And she asked me, she said, how does that reflect in your life? I said, I said, well, I don't allow people to get close. I can disappear in a room full of people. It looks like I'm introverted. And what I'm discovering, I am introverted, but what I'm seeing now is what I thought was me being introverted was me protecting myself so that I never felt that hurt again. And I'm telling you what, I was like, why didn't I know this 20 years ago? But you get what you get when you get it. But it was one of those things where I was like, why didn't I get this 20 years ago? And even though, and here's the thing, here's the duality of it. You can still do incredible things in the world and still have these horrible feelings about yourself, right? You can still go out and climb a mountain and then still, when you go to sleep at night, feel bad about yourself, feel unsure about yourself, feel insecure about things, keep people away from you. You can speak on stages and still feel like the smallest person in the room. And I know that from life experience. And when I had that epiphany yesterday, I was like, shut up. Oh, it was literally a miracle. And I'm going to tell you why it was a miracle. Because I opened up my email and the email for her, she was doing a 90-minute session, was just, I was like, oh, okay, well, let me, it's Father's Day. I don't do anything for Father's Day. My dad passed away years ago. I said, well, let me get on here and see what she's talking about. She hasn't been doing any work for probably a couple of years because she was doing her own healing. So I said, well, I don't believe in coincidences. Sign up onto the Zoom. And here's the interesting thing. Let me tell you about God. I'm a God girl, so we talk about God here. I have been praying. I said, God, please give me the answer that I need. Get me unstuck because I've been feeling like I was stuck. I'm doing all these things, I'm putting all this together, but there was something that was holding me back from where I needed to go. And that conversation was a miracle for me because I really, hello, who's ever on here, say hi in the comment section. Leave a comment and let me know, if this is resonating with you. You don't have to tell me your business, but give me a 1 if you're like, I understand. Give me a 2 is like, you know, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. And give me a 3 like, I live a great life. I'm perfect. And put it in the comment section so we can continue the conversation. But it was one of those things where I was like, wow, I've got to come on to the community and talk about this thing with trauma, how it colors our life. Because what I've been noticing and why I wanted to have this conversation, it seems like we've become a society of grievances. And people are like, well, I'm just telling the truth. This is just, and I'm just like, no, this is a grievance. And why is everybody in grievance? What are we grieving? To the point of everything you see, everything you experience, you have something negative to say about it. What is the grievance? What are you grieving? What are you not dealing with? What are you angry about? What are you scared of? What traumas are you holding into the fact that when you see the world, you only see what's wrong with it? And sometimes you're just making it up. Sometimes we just make it up. That's not actually the reality of what's happening. So I was like, oh my God, there's something going, I don't know. I want to say it's in the water, it's in the sky, but there's this whole grievance thing that's happening where you go in people rush to the comment section to see people's grievances and snide comments. And I was just on live over on the Black Women Amplified Facebook page, and somebody got in the comment trashing women. And so I had to ban him and block him. I don't mind. He wasn't hurting my feelings. Those things that he was saying were not true about women. It wasn't true about me. It was his own personal feelings that had absolutely nothing to do with me. But I started to say is that I learned a valuable lesson about myself yesterday, and how I see myself and how trauma has colored my life and walked with the decisions that I make. And I'm sure that that's true for a lot of people, but we don't realize it. We don't realize it. And the reason that I love the work of Black women is because we understand each other. We understand each other like nobody else. And that's why I have the Black Women Amplified podcast, so that people can tell their stories, because people don't listen to Black women, and we don't have places where we can share who we are. We live in this society that sees us as one thing, one monolithic experience, that we're all the same, that we're all this type of girl or we're all this type of girl. But the truth of the matter is there are 42 million Black people in this country. And so that means that there are 42 million different stories that are happening at the same time. And I think it's important that we listen to each other's stories, we hear each other's hearts, we listen with empathy and compassion, as opposed to looking for what's wrong and ready to pounce on people with a simple that you believe is a mistake, but it's just a part of their journey and their process. So compassion and empathy and kindness can really take us in a whole different direction, and with ourselves. When I had this conversation yesterday, I was like, I need to be kinder to myself, because my self-talk is it's trash, and it's the same talk of the people said to me in my family, the non-belief of myself, the thinking that I could get to the mountaintop of where I'm trying to go. And it gets frustrating, but it's just me talking to myself, mimicking what I've heard other people say about me, right? That's trauma. That's trauma, 100%. I am mimicking to myself the things that other people have said about me. That's a mess. So I got off the conversation. Hi, everybody. I'm Monica Wisdom with Monica Wisdom Coaching and Black Women Amplified. And please push the like button. Please subscribe and push the notification so that you know when I go live. And you can check out the videos. If you haven't checked out the Black Women Amplified podcast, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or there are, I think, 80 episodes on this page that you can listen to. But I'm not going to stay on long. I have an interview tomorrow that I have to complete tonight, so that I'm ready for tomorrow. It's another great conversation with a dear friend of mine. But Thursday, did I even finish this conversation? Yes. So let me finish this conversation and we'll go into the next one. Trauma colors our life in a way that we don't even see. And trauma colors our life in ways that we don't understand. And if you find yourself, and how do you know? Is how are you responding to life? Are you have a lot of complaints? Are you dealing in a lot of grievances? Are you looking for jabs and negativity? And I'm not saying life has to be positive all the time. I don't believe in that. I believe life is real. Life be lifing. But we don't always have to go for the negativity. If that's what you're looking for, then you have to look within if you want it to be different. That's what I'm doing. And it's a challenge. I'm not saying it's easy. It is not easy. When I recall that conversation that my mom had, and if you didn't hear that, you can go back to the beginning, with my dad about me. And then I realized much of the negative self-talk that I've had with myself is me mimicking what my mother has said about me, that she still, before she passed away, she never even knew that I heard that conversation. She never knew that I heard that conversation that devastated me. And it has been with me since that moment. That program went into me and has been running ever since then. And yesterday, that program, I saw it, I prayed over it, and I released it. And I tell you what, life looks different today. So anyway, I'm going to go because I need to do all the things, but make sure that Thursday the episode drops with Rhonda Ross, the daughter of Barry Gordy and Diana Ross. And I'm excited for you all to hear our conversation, to learn about her work, and her journey in life, and how she overcame her stuff. So anyway, take care. I'll be back tomorrow. I plan to come on live every day. Now that I can go live on my phone, I don't have to set up all this equipment. It's just me and you in a conversation. And I'm excited about that. Trying to keep it simple. Trying to keep it simple. Anyway, have an amazing evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Make sure that you head over to Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your music and look for Black Women Amplified and push the subscribe button and the notification. Have an amazing day. I don't know how to get out of here, so please be patient.